So much changing even before the coronavirus. Risk is a big issue for small and medium enterprises. Let's get more on this. I'm joined via Skype by Nomfundo Makatini from Building Resilience Business Project. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon. So before COVID-19, what risks were small and medium entrepreneurs facing?
So thank you so much for the opportunity. So before COVID-19, as small businesses, we worried about things like loss of equipment in terms of equipment being stolen or broken down. We also worried about maybe over relying on one customer. Most of us as small businesses, we tend to not stress too much about getting more customers. Once you get a large customer, you feel sorted and you don't look for more customers. And also over reliance on employee on the owner of the business. You find that the owner does everything, and if the owner is not there, nothing moves, and that's a huge risk, especially if the owner passes away or if they're in hospital. We also faced a risk around maybe hiring wrong people. We tend to hire people because maybe we can't afford to pay a proper salary yet. So we find ourselves hiring people that can accept a low salary, or maybe family members or friends, without the proper vetting. The point is that's what we normally looked at before coronavirus.
And you see with small businesses across South Africa and the world really suffering because of the impact of the coronavirus and the lockdown. What would you say are the top risks being faced now by entrepreneurs playing in that space?
So what coronavirus and lockdown has made us aware of, and I think it's small businesses, even large businesses across the board, loss of income. Many of us have had to stop working, and that means we now don't have income, and sometimes rent is still due. Sometimes our staff still need to be paid. So loss of income is on top of the list for me, and things like compliance as well. Because some of us were not really compliant on some of the government regulation. If you are not compliant, now there's a chance that you won't get any of the help that is being made available by government and banks and other institutions. So that's a big deal as well. And things like health now, because some of us were allowed to operate because we were providing essential services, or now that the laws have been relaxed, we are now operating. But there's always that risk that you might get infected while you're working, or you might infect other people. And of course, technological risks as well, because some of us have had to move to using more technology. But top of the list for me is loss of income that coronavirus has highlighted for us, and health issues.
So when you speak about the risk, there should also be solutions in terms of mitigating those risks. How do you do that in an environment where there is so much unknown? You're waiting for laws, you're waiting for government to promulgate certain legislation about when companies can operate. What does a small business do now?
So the first thing that we can do with regards to maybe preventing things now or even future possibilities is to, there are 4 techniques that we normally employ when we're managing risk. The first thing is to reduce the risk. You look at things that can reduce how much the risk hurts you, and maybe reduce how often that risk comes into your business. For example, when you can then start preparing your staff in terms of training them to be ready to be dealing with customers and protecting themselves using their PPE correctly. So training is a good way of then reducing the risks. And we can also transfer risks by taking certain insurances. For example, if your risk is loss of income, you can have insurance that will protect you against that, so that your staff they continue to be paid. You can put money aside so that you can continue to have some sort of income, so that you can continue to meet your financial obligations. There's quite a bit we can do in terms of mitigating. And as well, we have to learn from this. that lack of compliance has really limited the opportunities for small businesses to receive help. We can learn from it and educate ourselves in terms of what do we need to be compliant with so that we can receive the help that we need and start fixing that.
Speaking of health, Sis Nomfundo, what about people who own small and medium enterprises who are facing the challenges you've spoken about? Is there something that they need to do to focus on their mental health, especially when they are firing people, as a lot of people have to do when they're dealing with challenges of having to manage a lot of people who are in difficult situations?
Yes, I often say that I believe that there's basically a field missing there's a group of psychology missing that is there to help us as small businesses in terms of managing the mental or the psychological challenges that comes with the job of being a small business. Because one, you don't have in situations like this, you don't have the money to be able to keep the staff, so you have to let them go. But you are human. The mental strain that it brings to you, that you are now sending someone home that is possibly, in small businesses, usually when we employ one person, you are feeding 5 people. So you are now having to send this person home and you are sending 5 people to starvation. So I believe there is a lot of help that small businesses can access, and I hope the people that are in the mental field can assist us in terms of being able to cope ourselves, because we are also impacted in terms of loss of income for ourselves and seeing your business die and having to close down. Some of the small business have had to go through that, and also the other people that you are impacting, because most of us are in small businesses area, yes, to make a profit, but we want to make a difference in our society. Now, to see that what you have built over years failing and having to close is a huge psychological problem, and I do encourage small businesses to seek help in this regard, and mental professionals to be with us and be understanding of the challenges that we are all going through.
Nomfundo Makhathini from Building Resilient Business Project, thanks so much for your time on SABC News this afternoon.